This podcast contains adult language and stories of true crime. If you don't like laughing, crying, or being horrified at the actions of other humans, this podcast is not for you.
Hey Resolvers, welcome to episode 20. If you are watching along, this is also episode 20 of Unsolved Mysteries on Amazon Prime or wherever else. So YouTube, Tubi, Pluto TV, all those things. If you haven't listened to this show before, we each research a case or two from the episode and provide you with in-depth updates. So you can do all the things. Follow us, Instagram at @re_solved mysteries, on Facebook and Twitter at Resolve the Pod. Please just do it. We post photos there. We like engaging with you guys over there. And then subscribing to the podcast really, really helps us. So if you want to help us out in a really small way and you're one that doesn't usually subscribe, you could just hit that button and it would help us.
We just learned that. So
yeah,
please do that for us.
Yeah.
We're all learning and growing together.
Yes.
This is a great mystery. This podcast is an unsolved mystery in and of itself.
And will continue to be. Thank you for being along on the ride. We also have a merch store.
Yeah.
It was
oh my god.
so fun. I scrolled through Facebook. I'm never on there, but I saw a few people were like, I got my merch and they looked so cute.
The shirt, the Nancy Drew shirt, the colors look amazing on it.
Yeah.
I
gotta get it.
I know. I was so bummed I didn't get one. I just got the font.
Mistake.
There's still time.
So that, if you're interested, is resolvedmysteriespod.threadless.com. Then something else that we'd love to do for every month, we donate $1 to a charity or organization we love for every review we receive on iTunes. And for June, we're so excited. We're donating to For Goodness Cakes, which is an organization that one of our listeners, Brittany P., told us about. And she actually opened her own chapter in Albuquerque.
Oh my God, she's the best.
She is the best. So I'll just read their mission. It says, our mission at For Goodness Cakes is to give individual youth at least one special moment that is about them. By providing a child a treat made especially for them, it gives them some much needed time to not feel the increasing pressure of their socioeconomic situation, but rather help nurture optimism and confidence at a critical age.
And the tagline for some kids' birthdays are overlooked. You never think about that.
Seriously.
Yeah. Brittany's messaged us about a couple of cases where they delivered cakes, and it just seems like they deliver so much happiness, and I am so impressed by her. And
it's just one of those things that you don't think about. Not everybody gets.
And it's really not, you should look, so forgoodnesscakes.org, and you can see if there's a chapter in your area, because there are a few different ones around the states, and you can volunteer to do all sorts of things. Like if you like baking and you have a little bit of extra time, you could volunteer for them. Of course, you could donate money, but it just seems like a great organization. So yeah, leave us a review if you haven't. All of our donations will be going to For Goodness Cakes for every review we receive in June.
Yeah. Oh, little kids getting birthday cakes.
Yes, and thanks, Brittany, again.
Yeah, Brittany, you're awesome.
Alison, do you want to shout out a few patrons?
Yes, we have a few patrons. Thank you, Mel L, Katie, and Mike B.
Thanks, patrons.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. You spoke, we listened, we read, you read. We all read, we love it.
Reading's the best.
Unless you're Thomas Sawyer.
Okay, so we are going to have our very first summer reading club list. We're super excited. We've picked 3 books. So for our summer reading book club, which we are calling #Read Solvers.
So cute.
So cute. So we're going to put out mini episodes about each book probably shortly after that month is over. So if you want to send us your thoughts, we'd love to put some of them in that mini episode. So you could just write up a little blurb, or maybe I was wondering this, just normal book club conversation. That could kind of guide our conversation. We'll include some of those, and if you could send them. So our June book is Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. And if you could send us any of your thoughts by June 30th, that'd be great. And then our July book is After the Eclipse by Sarah Perry. And send us your thoughts on that book by July 31st. And then August, Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Send us your thoughts on that by August 31st. You can send us your thoughts email, just like put it in the subject line so we can organize our emails that way. Even Instagram message, or if you are one of our patrons, we've opened a Slack channel for you, and we will be talking on there often about the books, but we'll also pull some of those comments and stick them in the episodes. So patrons, you can put it in the Slack channel too. And if you want your thoughts possibly included in an episode, do that by the end of each month for that book.
Yeah, and then for our patrons that are on Slack, the new channel is #ReadSolvers. The three of us are going to come up with a date where we can all get on the channel with you guys and discuss the book with you. So we'll follow up with you. And if you're not a patron and you want to join our convos and our book club on Slack in real time with us, then you can go to patreon.com/resolvemysteries.
Yeah.
And it's #ReadSolvers, like READ.
Yes.
Read.
All right. We can't wait to read along with you. Sit by the pool, drink a drink, read a read.
Yeah. Also, we have kind of a fun announcement for you guys. So for our patrons, we've been trying to come up with ways to engage with our patrons more and get more of you involved with our Patreon. We've decided that for our season finale, episode 24 of season 1, we are going to do a live listening party. So if you're a patron of $5 or higher, we are going to have a listening party with you guys on Slack. We'll create a Slack channel for it. On August 4th, our patrons will get the season finale a day earlier than everyone else. We'll come up with a time that sort of works for Pacific and East Coast, and for our friends in the UK and Australia, I don't know. You're going to either have to stay up late or get up early.
Yeah.
Because there's...
Can it be saved and they re-listen or
yeah,
rewatch?
we can record it. We can send it to you guys. So we can record it via Slack. So yeah, if you want to have a listening party with us, we're also going to review all of the cases that solved in the first season, and give you some fun stuff that's coming up in season 2. So do it. Super excited about it. Okay.
What are the segments?
Ooh,
today?
KB's first.
KB.
I have a wanted segment about Don Smith.
I have the legend of Billy the Kid.
I knew nothing about Billy the Kid, actually.
Oh, there is so much to know.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I don't really know much either.
We will, I guess.
We about to.
And I have got a wanted segment, Charles Mule, or Mule.
Are you going to give your trigger warning now or later?
He's a true dick bitch. So if you want to skip the last segment, I would not blame you.
Actual trigger warning.
Yes, actual trigger warning. Okay.
Okay, this is the wanted segment of Don Smith. May 16th, 1987, in Denver, Colorado, at 2 a.m., 2 vehicles collide on a downtown street. One driver flees the scene and leaves the pickup truck behind. Police come and investigate, and they do a search of the inside of the truck, and inside they find a bloody jack handle and a room key for a local motel. They go to the motel. The driver of the vehicle was registered there under the name Larry Monroe. Inside the room, they find a pair of pants and a sweatshirt, both covered in blood. Ugh. Yeah, like just sitting there on the chair. Quote, "I think we might have what we're looking for, guys. Still fresh."
Oh my gosh, yes.
I hated that.
I hated it.
Ugh.
And again, we see police just rubbing their grubbies all over the bloody evidence with their bare hands.
But at that point, they were wearing gloves in real life, right?
But UM should know that if you're going to do a reenactment, do it right.
So Stack says that the Denver police tracked the pickup truck to a white man named Donald Smith from Hemet, California. Stack says, yet the driver who ran from the collision in Denver was black. Police were unable to get info about the man registered at the hotel as Larry Monroe, but they look into Don Smith. They find out that Smith's wife had not heard from him for 12 days since he left home to do a cross-country trip. Stack says what started as a tragic accident turned into a bizarre murder that police are still trying to solve. Don Smith, the owner of the vehicle, lived with his wife in Hemet, a small town in Southern California. He'd been feeling, quote, despondent because he was not well enough to work, so he decided to drive across country to visit family. So I don't know what that means if he was, like, terminally ill. Like, they do not explain. So he left Hemet on May 11th, 1987 with the pickup truck and a trailer house, and he brought his 2 black labs with him.
Oh.
Cuties. He was anxious to see his daughter, Brenda, in Idaho, who was the only child from his first marriage. Stack says for most of her life, her and her father had been kept apart. So here we have an interview with Brenda, and she explains that her mom kept her away from her dad, and she thinks she only saw him once up until her mom died when she started searching for him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and also not okay. Unless they're like abusive or damaging, don't keep a child away from their parent. Brenda explains that Dawn was looking for her as well. When Brenda was 26 and a divorced mother of 2, she was, quote, finally and joyfully reunited with her dad. Brenda explains it was a really good relationship. Quote, it was almost like we had always known each other. She said she could tell him anything and he was very protective of her and always said if she ever had a problem to just let him know and he'd take care of it for her. Brenda says, quote, he was kind of a macho man, I guess. I don't know. We don't really care for that word, probably. Brenda says, basically, it was a real good relationship, with the exception of my father drank, which he didn't do very often, thank God. He turned into kind of a different person when he was drunk.
I think he probably drank not around her a lot because they didn't see each other a lot.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how can you have that type of problem and not do it often?
Yes.
So Stack says the day after Dawn left Hemet, he and another man pulled up in front of the hospital where Brenda worked as a psychiatric nurse. Shout out Honey for doing that work. Stack says that Smith stayed in the truck, but his, quote, companion got out and walked into the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
The man walks to the front desk and asks for Brenda. The receptionist says she's not working that day and she can connect him with her supervisor, John Slane. He tells John he's looking for Brenda. The supervisor asks who he is, and he says he's a friend of her father's and needs to get in contact with her. He says he can't give him that information over the phone.
But I'll look you in your face that I've never seen before.
Yeah. In the parking lot.
So he goes, why don't you meet me in the parking lot?
What was that?
So,
that
he has the wherewithal to be like, I'm not allowed to tell you that, but I'll tell you outside. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
He's like, I just want to take a look at you.
And he's doing that, thankfully nothing happened to her, but something could have.
Absolutely. And he wasn't even her father. He was a friend of her father.
Yes.
He was someone who said he was a friend of her father. It's so many, layers removed away from her.
Yeah,
herself.
He was that manager or whatever was putting her in danger.
So bizarre. And it was like he knew it was not okay. So weird.
Yeah.
So Slane goes out to the parking lot and meets him. I thought for sure that Dawn wasn't in the car and it was a setup or something, but he was in the car. So he's slumped down in the seat, just totally wasted. Slane said he'd obviously been drinking. He asks where his baby girl Brenda is at. Slane tells him she's fishing with her girlfriends. Slane then proceeds to give them directions to where Brenda and her friends are.
Oh, I forgot that.
This is the hospital administrator. What?
But I'm sorry, you can't tell you that over the phone. It's private.
I literally gave the directions.
I will walk out and draw you a map, though. I'll be right there.
I'll just come fishing with you guys. You seem great.
Do you want to bring any guns or anything? I have them.
There's some knives.
If you need any nets or trapping devices. So Stack says 15 miles away, Brenda and her friends had, quote, given up on fishing and stopped by a saloon near the
Those girls
lake.
were not going fishing.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
they're
like,
let's go fishing, wink, wink.
I'm like, let's go sit on a boat, complain about it, and get drunk.
Yeah, that's how we would go fishing.
Yes. Let's get a gone fishing sign for the pod room.
Yes. So the 3 women are having a drink at the bar. Brenda says they're sitting near the bar by the window that's by the front door. She says the door opens and everyone in the bar turns around.
This scene is so
I know. Awkward. There's so many stages of awkward to this scene.
Yeah. So a black man comes in and lets the door close behind him, and everyone just slowly turns and looks at him.
All the white people.
All of the white people in flannel shirts and trucker hats.
And they just stare. They don't say anything. They just stare.
It's like a record scratches. It's
And Brenda's doing her own reenactment, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Brenda says he had sunglasses on and took them off and looked around for a few minutes, which reenactment of that was pretty funny, too.
Squinty.
He's blinking and squinting like he's never been in a bar before.
She was forgiving him, though. She's like, it was bright outside.
Yeah. She's like, I think he was letting his eyes adjust. So he then went in, he just walks by everyone and goes into the restroom. Brenda says about a minute later, this man came in with wild hair and his shirt untucked. She does not even recognize her father because he's so sloppy ass drunk.
Yeah.
He just yells, "Hi, is there a Brenda Walker in here?"
I hate it so
And
much.
she whips around and is like, "Oh my God, hi Dad." And then she explains that it took her a minute to even recognize him because he looks so different from the last time she had seen him.
Oh my God.
She's happy to see him. They hug and sit down at the bar and she realizes how wasted he is. She goes into the restroom restroom because she's upset that he'd shown up that drunk and embarrassed her in front of her friends. He asks if she's okay, and she says, how about you? And he starts crying, talking about how he misses her and wants to be with her. He starts babbling about he doesn't want to be alive anymore, and he has cancer, and he's going to be with her mom in heaven. Like,
So maybe that was it. He did have cancer, and that's why he was too sick to work.
Yeah.
There we go.
I hate drunk relatives like that, where they like get super sloppy drunk and they sit next to you, like as a kid, and they're just like, you know how much you're like, ew, what? Ew,
Yeah,
ew,
and like
ew,
her friends like never met him before. She doesn't even
and
like
also,
really know him.
This town is so small. Everyone's gonna be talking about her drunk ass dad.
And it's also so different to be like, to have someone come in super drunk versus like getting that way together.
Yes.
As a communal activity.
Also, when you're not expecting them at all, that is
Well, and it's like
crazy.
she loves him. She gets so happy to see him.
And then she realizes
he comes all this way, drives up from California to visit her, and shows up like this. Ugh. Sucks. So at this point, the quote companion, which that word choice, I don't know what else they could have called him, but it was weird, comes out of the restroom, and Dawn says, "Hey, they don't serve whiskey in here." So the guy just looks at him and walks out the front door without saying anything. It's so bizarre.
I have so many questions about this segment,
understand.
and I don't know if we're going to get any answers, but I like the whole thing is so weird.
So then Brenda says he goes out to the truck and goes and sits in the driver's seat. Brenda, of course, thought this was really weird and had no idea who the guy was, so she starts watching him from the window to see what he's doing. She said he was out there just sitting with his head on the steering wheel, staring out at the lake, looking impatient and, quote, disgusted with being there.
Who is he? And why is he?
And when did she even know that he was with her dad? Because they came in totally separately. Her dad talked to him, but he was so drunk he could have talked to anybody.
I guess it was until he got, and when she saw him get in his truck.
So Dawn then randomly stands up and just yells, "Does anyone want to fight? I can flip anyone in here." So Brenda throws her hands up in the air and starts walking out of the bar. She's just like fucking fed up with him, which I don't blame her.
It's so sad to do her own reenactment of this with a guy playing her father.
I know. I don't know how a lot of these people did these reenactments.
I think they wanted answers, so they did it.
So he follows her outside, but she gets in the car with her friends and leaves without talking to him.
I can't wait to do that the next time we're at a bar.
Anyone want to fight?
I'm going to flip you.
Then it's like an interview with Brenda, which is so sad.
Yeah.
She's saying all the things she wishes she'd have done, had more patience, tried to understand his situation, been more compassionate.
How could you?
No, girl. You don't have to do any of those things.
No.
Seriously.
He was being belligerent and angry in a public place after driving from California to see you. Like, why?
And also, the guy he was with seemed like sober.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. So her and her friends are driving away. She watches her dad like go to the camper and open it to let the dogs out and run around. And that was the last time she ever saw him as she drove away.
He was like snugging with those dogs too. It was cute.
The dogs are very cute.
They're
was,
very
like,
nice and they
cuddling.
run very fast. Yeah.
2 weeks later, in the desert outside Twin Falls, Idaho, a couple is out for their morning walk and see a body down below the road.
They were out for a morning walk. They were walking down a highway.
I know.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
Where do they live?
I don't know.
Twin Falls, baby. That's what you get.
That's all there is.
Really?
Highways. I don't know. The reenactment is bad. I'm imagining it's the real couple because they weren't very great at acting. And the guy just says, "It smells bad. It smells like it's decaying already. We better call the police."
Ew, it's decaying already?
Yuck.
It's terrible.
Yeah, that was not good. They didn't need to say any of that.
No. And it was one of those ones where they were like kind of layering stack over them talking to disguise how bad the reenactment was.
Yes.
The minute we learn that, I'm always looking for that.
Oh,
now.
it's all the
Yes.
time, especially when it's the real people. So the police come out to look at the body. Corporal Bill Tilson of the Twin Falls Sheriff's Department says, "We observed a body that appeared to have been thrown over the guardrail laying down. The body was decaying for approximately 2 weeks. We could not recognize him at that point. There was no identification around him or on him. At this time, we had no idea who we had. We just had another John Doe." So an autopsy is done, and they find bludgeon marks on the back of his head, indicating cause of death was by bludgeon. Near the body, seemingly also thrown over the side of the road, was a bottle of wine in a paper bag. It was taken as evidence. He says it wasn't until they identified the body that it all started fitting in the crime scene. Twin Falls police had no idea who the body was until they heard about the collision in Denver, where the driver of the pickup had fled the scene. When the Denver PD discovered the truck was owned by Don, they issued a possible homicide bulletin. Tilson says they sent out a, quote, teletype. I don't know what that is.
I think it's like an old-timey fax.
Okay. Indicating the vehicle in the accident was possibly involved in a homicide. Tilson calls the Denver PD and they give him the name Donald Smith. Using fingerprints, they are able to confirm that the body was that of Don Smith. Police then begin to put together the story of what happened to Don. May 11th, he leaves home. He ran into trouble with the trailer. Outside Vegas, he arranges to leave the trailer with a local man. So he just leaves his whole camper.
And he didn't go home.
Wait, was this in the episode?
Yes.
I don't remember this.
And I'm about to tell you theories that were also in the episode. One theory was that as soon as Smith left Vegas, he picked up a hitchhiker, the same black man from the reenactments. At some point in the trip, Smith starts drinking. The day after seeing Brenda, Smith turns up in Park City, Utah. The reenactment shows him at a payphone saying, "I need you to send me some money."
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do remember this.
Stack says he was calling his sister asking to be wired money. The same day, Smith picked up $200. He'd been accompanied by a man who matched the description of the man Brenda saw her dad with at a bar in Idaho.
One of my questions, and I don't know if you'll answer this, but why would you, if you're gonna kill this person, why would you take a cross-country trip with them and let everyone see your face and like your cool shades and your cool attitude? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I don't get it.
Totally. So police theorize that when Smith stopped to let the dogs out, the man murdered him. Stack says the murder weapon was probably a jack handle grabbed out of Smith's truck.
Oh, that's right.
And the
That's when I
reenactment
saw
is
the
scary.
dogs run fast. It's sad.
Police suspect the man dumped the body in the desert where it was found 2 weeks later. Brenda wants to know why the man murdered her father and took him away from her and her children. She explains that her father was the only family she had. A composite is created of the man that had been seen with Don by several people. Stack says he is black, with relatively light skin and probably in his 30s. He stands around 6 feet, 180 pounds. He may use the name Larry Monroe and may have once lived in the area of Blackfoot, Idaho. So there is nothing about this case anywhere.
no, girl.
The only
That's
thing you
the
can
worst.
find are comments on every single message board saying there is literally nothing on the entire internet about
I
this case.
hate it. That is the worst.
Shut the fuck.
I couldn't even find one single newspaper article.
What? Are you serious?
It's really weird.
Even when you search the daughter's name?
Yeah, I can't find anything.
I hate that because you almost spend more time on those segments looking for something than ones
Yes.
that have a lot of
Yes.
information.
Oh my
Totally.
God. Like you love a segment that's solved. Then you, oh no.
So frustrating.
Who is it?
So all I have is just
Okay,
comments
that's fine.
from
We love sitcoms online. Let's go.
Sitcoms Online and Unsolved.com are where I'm pulling these from.
Oh my gosh.
And the one big question literally every commenter has is what happened to the dogs?
Oh.
Everyone was asking, are the dogs okay? Were the dogs ever found? Does anybody know what happened to the dogs?
Our community
Does
of
anybody
unsolved
know what
people-
happened to the dogs? No.
So please write in if you know what happened to the dogs.
But that's so sweet. That like the true
It
crime
is
community
sweet.
loves their animals.
Yeah, I mean, they care about Dawn too, but
They care about the
seriously
dogs.
at the end of everyone's comment, and also the dogs. It's just like, oh my God.
That is sad.
I mean, it is.
In there, I mean, if one of the theories is correct, like the dogs just were running and they probably were left there.
Yeah.
The guy wouldn't drag the dogs back in the car with him and take
No,
them.
those dogs ran.
I love that we're spending this much time speculating.
What else?
I know,
What else
everyone
do you
cares.
think?
So I'm just going to, much like you did in the last episode, kind of
gotcha.
summarize what everyone's saying in the comments.
I gotcha.
So Justin5256 says,
He was on mine too.
Yeah, we know Justin.
I thought so.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the same awesome people that are like, what is
They're
going
on it
on?
all. And
I
they
was
need to
actually
listen
thinking
to our podcast.
that we need to message them.
Yeah, we should.
But then they'd probably judge us because they know more than us.
Yeah,
yeah,
and they would probably not like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So Justin5256 says the companion probably was a hitchhiker. No one thinks that murder was intended as the end goal of the situation because the companion showed his face literally everywhere, in the hospital, in the bar, to his daughter, to his daughter's supervisor, to his daughter's friends.
Yes, he like had a billboard.
Yeah.
Look at me.
He was in no way worried about people seeing him. Though weapon used was also the jack out of Smith's own truck, so it does not seem to be like a premeditated thing.
Like a
it was like
weapon of convenience.
It was whatever was
Good
convenient.
point. Good point.
Okay, got it.
So if the hitchhiker's intent wasn't to kill Don, what happened? The episode made numerous references to Don being an angry drunk. Brenda said this, and it was in the reenactment with the whole "Who Wants to Fight" scene.
A little bit, but they could have done so much more
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
Because when she said he turns into a different person, I was afraid. But then he's like weeping at her side, and I thought, well, this is not
and then
that bad.
the Who Wants to Fight thing was sort of, they cut really quickly away from
Yeah.
it, so they didn't really like
And it
discuss
wasn't
that much.
scary. Like, I've seen scary, angry drunks, and I mean, they could have done a little bit better job showing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's what she was kind of implying when she first mentioned it.
Yeah.
So
And that is scary.
Oh, yeah, man.
So it's possible that the hitchhiker either like got in some kind of altercation with him, or that Don just really like pissed him off and it ended up in a rage killing.
I was going to say that. Imagine getting picked up and then having to go on this journey with this like
Blubbering man slumped down in his seat.
yes, making you make all of these stops, embarrassing you in front of all of these people,
Probably randomly picking fights.
in all of these white people states.
Yeah, so do you think he hitchhiked but then was like, well, I have to drive? And Don's like, great, I can just drink while you're driving.
Or there's other theories about that. I'll get to that. Larry Monroe was probably not the guy's real name, of course.
Obs.
It doesn't seem like the police searched that hard for him, for Don Smith. Everyone's saying, wouldn't there be fingerprints everywhere? Because the guy was obviously not intending to get in a car accident. So it seems like there would be traces of him all over the car. So the guy probably just didn't have a record, because there is no way they didn't get his fingerprints. Between that and the hotel room with all the blood everywhere,
Yes.
they had to have his fingerprints. The Cars 1986 says that they find it super strange that, quote, Monroe was the one who went into the hospital looking for Brenda. Smith was probably too intoxicated
drunk.
to do it himself, but the fact that Monroe did it for him leads him to believe that he actually was at one point trying to help Smith.
Yes, that's the
Not
only
intending
thing that
to
makes
commit
sense.
crimes.
Yeah.
Unless Brenda had money to give him or something. Like that then Larry Monroe
Oh, because
could
he
take.
did ask for money to be wired. So maybe he was like, listen, go into the hospital, ask for my daughter, she'll give us some cash, and then
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada.
But
Oh,
like,
maybe. So they guess that Monroe was picked up in Nevada. Then he was later, we know he was seen in Idaho with Smith. We know they picked up the money that was wired to Utah, and then Smith's body was found back in Idaho. So this commenter thinks that it seems more like a crime of opportunity since Smith was killed shortly after the money transfer. But still, it was $200.
$200.
So I don't know about that.
And it's been days with him. That is just like, it's a long con, but it's a not fruitful one.
yeah.
Also, he probably got picked up in Vegas. Like, just try your luck and gamble a while. You'll get $200 and not have to kill
Seriously.
them.
Those states are big states.
Yeah. It's a lot of driving.
Yeah, like, I don't even want to drive that long with you guys.
no, I don't want to drive along with anyone.
No.
Meg the Egg 86 wonders
yes,
if
girl.
Oh, yeah, she's on it too.
Is she?
Yeah, I think she's a moderator. She's amazing.
Okay. She wonders if maybe some type of sexual advance was made.
That's what I was thinking.
So I don't know. Because she even referenced, again, the macho comment. Mm-hmm. So she says that maybe Monroe targeted Smith from the beginning, plying him with alcohol, keeping him drunk, so that he could wait for the right moment to steal his money in his truck.
It did seem like that kind of situation. Like, he was supplying him to keep him
But it
drunk.
just-
And he knew, oh, I've got basically an alcoholic here. This won't be hard.
But it was hard. It took so long.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know.
And they were like all over the damn place
Yes.
together.
I
That's
don't
what
think he knew what he was getting into, probably.
I thought that at first. I thought he must be plying him with something, but then I thought, how lucky would he be to get someone who would accept that and be easily under the influence to keep accepting drinks? Like,
Wait,
yeah.
you're not going to find any man on the road who
Yeah.
will easily accept that.
Well, maybe, who knows, his RV broke down or whatever in Vegas, but he was drunk and that guy was around whenever he dropped off the RV. Maybe he was like, oh, I
He
got
probably saw him like dinky dunking around.
Exactly.
Being, "Whoa," all over the
Exactly.
place.
Drunky
Yeah.
drunken.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so then Justin 5256 comes back one more time to question why Don didn't introduce his friend to Brenda and why Brenda didn't
Yes.
ask who he was.
Well, that's what makes me think I don't understand when she realized that they were together.
Yeah, so he said they don't have any whiskey here, and then the African American guy. So there wasn't an opportunity to introduce, and then she saw him get in the car. So that was the only way
but it's
she
just
knew.
still weird that she wasn't like, who's that guy? Who are you talking to?
Because he was hammered, and she was like, "Get
so
the fuck
drunk.
out of
That's
here!"
true.
At this point, she was probably annoyed with him and just
like,
thought, oh, you'll talk to
mortified.
anyone. And then he turns around and asks anyone if they'll fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she was like, I don't need an introduction if this guy's rolling
And
with you.
everyone turns around and looks at the black guy like she's probably like, oh, you're definitely not with him. Like
Yeah.
they're in that kind of place.
Yeah.
She would probably assume he wouldn't be with a person of color. So.
Right. Well, Justin 5256 was wondering that because he said maybe Don had a habit of picking up young male hitchhikers and the family just didn't ask questions.
Ooh.
Which, I don't know. It might be a little far-fetched. And I don't think Brenda knew him well enough to
I don't
even
know how
like,
they would know that.
have a
yeah.
thing like that they didn't talk about. So I don't know.
They
But
probably didn't talk about a lot of things. They didn't really know each other that well.
yeah. So that's it, you
That's
guys.
it.
There is nothing about this
No.
man. Not even a
Crazy.
fucking obituary. Nothing.
That's the worst pain in the world
Yeah.
Ouch, ouchie, ouch.
for a resolver.
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
That's crazy.
All right, guys. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hello! Welcome to BSP Believer Skeptic Podcast.
The podcast where two idiots debate weird phenomena.
I'm Chris, I'm the believer.
I'm Cody, I'm the skeptic.
We are an LGBTQ paranormal comedy podcast.
And this is how it works. Every week, we pick a strange but fascinating paranormal topic, such as
La Llorona,
voodoo,
Winds of Passion,
empaths,
holiday traditions.
Conspiracy theories.
and after presenting you with a lot of really fun information,
I tell you why I believe.
and then I debunk the crap out of it. And along the way, you might find some TMI information,
Some gay humor.
and also some sexual innuendos.
Yes.
So tune in, have fun, and bye!
Hey, this is Chris, the host of Killer Jobs, the podcast that discovers the day jobs of the world's most famous serial killers. Explore how these psychopaths functioned in the real world, how murder interfered with their work, and what coworkers had to say. Killer Jobs investigates a new serial killer every Tuesday and is available on all podcast players.
I want to know if you have a country song prepared for Billy the Kid.
So here's the deal, Lemon Wheel. I have had the Ballad of Billy the Kid by Billy Joel in my head for the last 3 weeks.
Great.
So I'm probably gonna play like a little bit of it, but not too much because I don't want to pay for it. All right, so here we go.
Okay.
There is a lot of Billy. We're going to try to cover what we can. And if I miss something and you know it and you write to us about it, please be nice. Just doing my best. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, since the reenactment is a little all over the place, I'm going to just tell you about Billy the Kid and then we'll get into the whole who was he really?
That
and
sounds good.
Yada, yada. So, the reenactment starts with an old movie and it's a couple of cowboy men saying...
Cowmen.
Not just cowboys. They're cowboy men.
They cowmen.
Well, I
Just
mean,
shorten it.
They're not boys. They're like 40 or 50.
They're cow geriatrics.
So in the movie, one of the cowboy men says, "See that Palomino over there? The one without the whiskers is Billy the Kid." And then the other cowboy man
What?
says, "Billy the Kid."
Wait, a palomino?
It's a horse. I know. So I couldn't tell if he was talking about the whiskers on the horse or Billy the Kid. And I actually put that in my notes, but then I was like, that's stupid. Everybody's going to know.
I didn't know, and I watched it.
Okay. I don't know. Do horses have whiskers? I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Everything
so.
does. Don't we all? Am I right, ladies?
So someone had whiskers. It was Billy the Kid. Or it wasn't. Whatever. Anyway, the movie was released in 1941, and it starred none other than the legendary Buster Crabbe. Just kidding. Nobody knows who that is.
Do you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Spelled like a regular crab?
Nope. C-R-A-B. Like a French crab. Buster Crabbe, C-R-A-B-B-E, played Billy the Kid 13 times in a series of 42 Western Billy the Kid-esque films that ran from 1940 to 1946. Mr. Stack says that over 250 movies were created about the legend of Billy, but he doesn't name the one that they show. Then they show us the famous picture of Billy the Kid, and I have to say that he looks a bit unfortunate. I choose to remember Emilio Estevez as Billy the Kid in Young Guns and Young Guns 2, American Classics, to my 7-year-old brain. So while we have Billy here gawking at us, let's learn a little about him. Mr. Stack says, quote, traditional wisdom tells us that he was born William Bonney in New York City in 1859. Then he jumps to something about Lincoln County War. So I guess just skipped a few years, unless he was fighting the Lincoln County War as a tiny baby. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
It's pretty adorable.
He's Billy the Kid.
Oh, I get it.
He's Billy the baby.
So I went to Wikipedia to find out about the Lincoln County War. And wouldn't you know it, didn't get anything really right about Billy the Kid. So let's fix that, because that's what this podcast does. Billy the Kid was born Henry McCarty on either September 17th or November 23rd, 1859. He had a younger brother named Joseph. And following the death of... So I'm going to call him Billy, but right now his name is Henry.
Great.
Okay.
So following the death of Billy's father, Patrick, his mother, Catherine McCarty, and her sons moved to Indianapolis, Indiana. And that's where she met William Henry Harrison Antrim. McCarty and Antrim were married in 1873, but she died of tuberculosis in 1874. We're only married for a year. It's so sad. Billy was orphaned at about age 15. The owner of a boarding house gave him a room in exchange for work. His first arrest was for stealing food at age 16 in late 1875. And then 10 days later, he robbed a, quote, Chinese laundry and was arrested. I don't know.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what's like racist or incorrect or whatever. So I'm just using air quotes. You guys can't see it, but I do not know what the difference between a Chinese laundry and a regular, like someone washing your laundry is.
Is it even laundry?
I have no idea, but Karlin's on it.
But look at all these shoes.
So he stole a bunch of really cute shoes. So he was arrested, but then he escaped 2 days later. Billy located his stepfather and stayed with him until Antrim threw him out because Billy stole clothing and guns from him. And it was the last time the two saw each other.
I'm not mad at anyone for stealing food, but guns is
and clothes.
Not great.
Man, it's so crazy back then.
Yeah.
You're
surviving, man.
I mean, it's so nuts. I'm also going to say dates and years a lot because it's a really long time ago and it's in a very short amount of time. Like this wasn't spread out. What's Chinese laundry?
Yeah, it's a little ambiguous. There's like an Urban Dictionary thing that I'm not going to open because I'm scared.
Yeah.
But in the United States and Canada in the late 19th and early 20th century, the occupation of laundry workers was heavily identified with Chinese Americans.
Yeah, like Wu in Deadwood. That's what I thought of.
Okay.
I think it is...
Literally laundry.
Yeah.
Yes, literally Chinese people doing laundry in the 1800s. Okay. Sorry. I don't know if I have to fix that or someone's going to get mad about it.
You don't have to apologize for
Okay. I didn't do it. I wasn't even around. On August 17th, 1877, Billy was at a saloon in the village of Bonita when he got into an argument with Francis P. Windy Cahill, a blacksmith who reportedly had bullied Billy on more than one occasion. He called Billy a pimp, and Billy in turn called him a son of a bitch. Ooh. And then Cahill threw Billy to the floor, and the two struggled for Billy's revolver. Billy shot him and mortally wounded Cahill. Cahill died the following day.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, right? Billy fled, but returned a few days later and was apprehended by Miles Wood, the local justice of the peace. Billy was detained and held in the camp guardhouse, but escaped before law enforcement could arrive.
So escapey.
Oh, super escapey. So great. But a little confusing because there were so many positions in law enforcement and none of them really meant anything. So this person, the justice of the peace, arrested him, but then he escaped before the real police could show up. It's like a mall cop.
Oh,
okay.
I have no idea.
He was on a Segway. And
it happens. What?
On a Segway.
He rode up on a Segway. I'm picturing like the dusty like alleyway.
Oops. Tumbleweeds.
Yes, he rode a Segway, 100%.
For sure.
So, yeah, it gets very confusing because there's like a lot of sheriffs and there's sheriff deputies and everybody's got a title, but no one's actually doing anything.
Yeah, he's like, bye, I'm going to leave while you guys are figuring this out.
So Billy stole a horse and fled the Arizona Territory for New Mexico Territory. But a member of the Apache Nation took the horse from him, leaving him to walk miles to the nearest settlement. Billy, starving and near death, went to the home of a friend whose mother nursed him back to health. After regaining his health, Billy went to Apache Tejo, a former army post, where he joined a band of rustlers who raided herds owned by cattle magnate John Chisholm in Lincoln County. In 1877, McCarty began to refer to himself as William H. Bonney, and that's where the fun really begins. Oh. And that's also how we get to the Lincoln County War. Long story short, because it's boring and it's filled with old-timey, greedy white guys who all wanted cows and horses for themselves or whatever. Hashtag not all old-timey, greedy white guys.
But probably all.
But yeah, most definitely. Because I don't see anybody else fighting in these wars.
Yeah.
It's just these guys. Basically, Billy worked for a guy named Tunstall, and Tunstall owed some money, so the sheriff was going to come and, like, repossess his livestock and his property. And Tunstall was like, oh, fuck, let me hide some of my horses, like 6 horses. Billy, go hide them. So while Billy was gone trying to hide the horses, a posse came. What?
Go hide the horses.
A posse.
Wait, you're both confused. I'm sorry.
Just go hide these horses. Just go hide them somewhere.
Well, so he was like, take the horses away. Like, he had 6, like, really nice horses, I guess.
Okay.
They're like commodities.
Yes. Oh, my God. Yeah. They were like
For sure, yes.
money. Like, 7 horses was worth like 35 horses by today's standards. So while Billy was gone hiding the horses, the posse came to take Tunstall's stuff. And when he went to stop them, they shot him off his horse, and then they shot him again in the back of the head.
Damn.
Yikes.
So Billy was pissed and basically was like, I'm going to get murder warrants for these shitbags who killed my boss.
What?
Yeah. So he went to get murder warrants, and I think he went to the sheriff who had murdered his boss, and that sheriff just arrested him. He was like, you're under arrest.
Wrong guy.
Yeah. Sorry, it's going to be so confusing, but that's because it's literally the Wild West.
Yeah.
It is so confusing.
It's wild.
Yeah. So he gets arrested by one sheriff named Brady and his posse, but then a U.S. Marshal shows up with his posse, captures the sheriff's jail guards, and lets Billy and his friend out. It is just like,
wow.
I'm in charge.
You
I'm in charge.
trust anyone, yeah.
Like, my gun's bigger.
Everyone's going to do what they want to do.
Everyone's the law, and like no one's the law. Billy the Kid then joined the Lincoln County Regulators, and on March 9th, they captured Frank Baker and William Morton, both of whom were accused of killing Tunstall. Baker and Morton were killed while trying to escape. On April 1st, the regulators ambushed Sheriff Brady and his deputies. Bonney was wounded in the thigh during the battle. They keep calling it a battle. It's just like 10 guys shooting at each other.
Yeah. Maybe like 8 plus quantifies a battle.
I don't know. Well, how do we categorize a battle? So Bonney was wounded in the thigh during the battle. Sheriff Brady and the deputy sheriff were killed, and warrants were issued for Bonney and 2 others, and they were charged with killing the men.
And Bonney is Billy.
Mm-hmm. Now he's William H. Bonney. So then a ton of other shootouts happen. One on July 14th, 1878. One on July 16th, 1878. One on July 19th, 1878. It's a shit show of shootouts.
All the time.
Actually, like, it was so bad that people on the same side were accidentally shooting each other because they didn't know what the fuck was going on. One of the accounts I read was X guy shot Y guy, and they were on the same side, and then another person from the same side shot X guy.
Right.
Just
they just
chaos.
had no idea.
Bonney and 3 other survivors of the Battle of Lincoln were near the Mescalero Indian Agency. Again, sorry, I know it's not politically correct, but that's what it's called.
Yep.
When the agency bookkeeper, Morris Bernstein, was murdered on August 5th, 1878. All 4 were indicted for the murder, despite conflicting evidence that Bernstein had been killed by a local constable, which is a police officer. All of the indictments, except for William Bonney's, were later quashed. So I think basically he managed to annoy everybody. So everybody was coming for him all of the time. All the indictments were later quashed except for his, and that happens over and over and over again. So on October 5th, 1878, U.S. Marshal John Sherman informed newly appointed Territorial Governor and former Army General Lew Wallace that he had warrants for several men, including Billy the Kid. Wallace issued an amnesty proclamation on November 13th, 1878, which pardoned anyone involved in the Lincoln County War since Tunstall's murder. It specifically excluded people who had been convicted or indicted for a crime, and therefore excluded Bonney. They wanted him, and they wanted everyone to just snitch on him, to find him. Yeah, the story's fucking crazy too. Okay. On February 18th, 1879, Bonney and a friend, Tom O'Folliard, were in Lincoln and watched as attorney Houston Chapman was shot and his corpse was set on fire. According to eyewitnesses, the pair were innocent bystanders forced at gunpoint by Jesse Evans, another wacko who I Googled, to witness the murder. So I guess he was like, stand here and watch this and tell people I did this.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like fucking ancient Roman
Yes,
times.
seriously.
So Bonney knew that Governor Wallace was out for him and he had all these warrants. So he wrote to Governor Wallace on March 13th, 1879, and he offered to provide information on the Chapman murder in exchange for amnesty. Wallace agreed to a secret meeting to discuss the situation. Bonney met with Wallace in Lincoln on March 17th, 1879. During the meeting and in subsequent correspondence, Wallace promised Bonney protection from his enemies and clemency if he were to offer his testimony to a grand jury. So basically, like, turn state's evidence. So here's where it gets cute. On March 20th, 1879, Wallace told Bonney that he was going to have the sheriff arrest him so that people didn't realize that he was snitching. So he's like, listen, I'm going to have the sheriff come with all the deputies. We're going to make a big scene. We're going to arrest you. And that way everyone thinks that you're in trouble and they don't think you're turning state's evidence. So Bonney agreed to testify and confirmed Wallace's proposal for his arrest and detention in a local jail to assure his safety. So all of this is in letters, first-hand accounts of like all of this stuff.
Yeah.
On March 21st, 1879, Bonney let himself be captured by a posse led by Sheriff George Kimball of Lincoln County. As agreed, Bonney provided a statement about Chapman's murder and testified in court. However, after Bonney's testimony, the local district attorney refused to set him free.
Yeah.
Still in custody several weeks later, Bonney began to suspect Wallace had lied and would never grant him amnesty. Bonney escaped from the Lincoln County Jail on June 17th, 1879.
Of course
Again,
he did.
this is like escape number 5.
Oh my God, it's so good. I love him so much. The more I was reading, I was like, yeah.
Go, Bonnie Billy.
Yeah, go Billy the Kid. Okay, so this is kind of fun. So Bonney stayed under the radar until January 10th, 1880, when he shot and killed Joe Grant, a newcomer to the area, at Hargrove Saloon in Fort Sumner, New Mexico. According to sources, this is so awesome, Bonney had been warned that Grant intended to kill him. So he walked up to Grant and told him he admired his revolver and asked to examine it. Grant handed it over.
Oh, boy.
Billy noticed that the pistol only contained 3 cartridges. So before returning the pistol to Grant, he positioned the cylinder so the next hammer fall would land on an empty chamber. Grant suddenly pointed his pistol at Billy's face and pulled the trigger. When it failed to fire, Billy drew his own weapon and shot Grant in the head.
Damn.
Oh, shit.
Also,
Love that.
ballsy
More.
because he could have just taken all the bullets out.
Well, nobody was standing like right in front of him.
Yeah.
He didn't take it out. He
still-
just
He
switched.
just
No,
switched
I know.
the chamber. And then when he spoke to a reporter for the Las Vegas Optic, he said that the encounter was, quote, a game of 2, and I got there first.
Damn.
Oh, God, I love it. So then there was another confusing shootout in 1880. Sorry, we're back to that. Sorry.
Shocking.
So Bonney and his gang, I guess you could call them that. I mean, they're definitely a gang in Young Guns and Young Guns too. I'll give their names, just their last names. One was Rudabow and Wilson, Bowdry, Pickett, and O'Folliard. So they rode into Fort Sumner, and unknown to Billy and his companions, a posse led by Pat Garrett was waiting for them. The posse opened fire, killing O'Folliard, and the rest of the outlaws escaped unharmed. On December 13th, 1880, Governor Wallace posted a $500 bounty for Billy's capture. I don't know what to call him.
Billy Bonnie.
Yeah, it's Billy Bonney sounds silly, but Billy sounds informal, and Bonnie sounds silly too. So I don't know. Oh, God, the struggle. He posted a $500 bounty for Bonnie's capture, which is around $12,000 today. Pat Garrett wanted that money, honey. So he continued his search for Bonney. And on December 23rd, following another shootout where Bowder was killed, Garrett and his posse captured Bonney along with Pickett, Rudabaugh, and Wilson at Stinking Springs. The prisoners, including Bonney, were shackled and taken to Fort Sumner and then later to Las Vegas, New Mexico. When they arrived on December 26, 1880, they were met by crowds of curious onlookers. The following day, An armed mob gathered at the I guess they went from curious to pissed. An armed mob gathered at the train depot before the prisoners departed for Santa Fe. Bonney said that he was unafraid during the incident. He said, quote, "If I only had my Winchester, I'd lick the whole crowd."
Well, that's doubtable. Right?
I mean, he was...
How many bullets does a Winchester hold?
I don't know.
How many bullets can one Winchester hold?
The Las Vegas Gazette ran a story from a jailhouse interview following Billy's capture, where the reporter said that Billy appeared relaxed. He said, "What's the use of looking on the gloomy side of everything? The laugh's on me this time." He had a good sense of humor.
I guess that's a good motto.
I mean, he's like, whatever. I usually fuck them, and this time they fucked me. It's fine. After arriving in Santa Fe, Bonney, seeking clemency, sent Governor Wallace 4 letters over the next 3 months. Wallace refused to intervene, and Bonney went to trial in April 1881 in Mesilla, New Mexico. Following 2 days of testimony, Bonney was found guilty of Sheriff Brady's murder. It was the only conviction secured against any of the combatants in the Lincoln County War. On April 13th, Judge Warren Bristol sentenced Bonney to hang, with his execution scheduled for May 13th, 1881. Following his sentencing, Bonney was moved to Lincoln, where he was held under guard at the top floor of the town courthouse. On the evening of April 28th, 1881, Pat Garrett was away from the courthouse collecting taxes, because he had, like, all of the jobs. And all the other sheriffs and deputies went to dinner for some reason.
Oh, boy. Bye.
Yeah, James Bell, like a little baby deputy, was alone with Bonney at the jail. Bonney asked to be taken outside to use the outhouse behind the courthouse. On their return to the jail, Bonney, who was walking ahead of Bell up the stairs to his cell, hid around a blind corner. I mean, it's just a...
Hid. Literally just hid.
He was like...
I can't see you. You can't see me.
Hid around a blind corner, slipped out of his handcuffs, and beat Bell with the loose end of the cuffs.
Damn.
During the ensuing scuffle, Bonney grabbed Bell's revolver and fatally shot him in the back as he tried to get away.
Wow.
Dick move, dude. Like, that's not cool.
Don't be
I guess
a
he
dick
was
bitch.
worried that he was going to run across the street and tell all of the other sheriffs.
Understandable.
He's like, "I'm sorry to interrupt dinner, but..."
He's like, "I can't believe you guys left me with Billy the fucking kid." Bonney, with his legs still shackled, broke into Garrett's office and took a loaded shotgun left by a sheriff's deputy named Ollinger.
Oh, I like to imagine him
Like
hopping?
Yes. Penguin waddling.
Yes.
Bonney waited at the upstairs window for Ollinger to respond to the gunshot that killed Bell, because they were right across the street.
You can hear it.
And he called out to him, "Look up, old boy, and see what you get." When Ollinger looked up,
Damn.
Bonney shot and killed him.
Wow.
Yep.
Was any of this innuendo?
Oh,
What did they
fuck
talk
no.
about?
They were talking about, we get to it. It is not as interesting as Billy the Kid. So that's why we're doing
Weird.
this. Because I make the rules for my segment. So after about an hour, Bonney freed himself from the leg irons with an axe. And then he obtained a horse and rode out of town. According to some stories, he was singing as he left Lincoln.
On a palomino with whiskers.
Or no whiskers. We still don't know.
We're not sure.
While Bonney was on the run, Governor Wallace placed a new $500 bounty on his head. Almost 3 months after his escape, Garrett, responding to rumors that Bonney was in the vicinity of Fort Sumter, left Lincoln with 2 deputies on July 14th, 1881, to question a friend of Bonney's named Pete Maxwell. So Maxwell spoke with Garrett the same day for several hours. Around midnight, the pair sat in Maxwell's darkened bedroom when Bonney unexpectedly entered. Accounts vary as to the course of events. According to the, quote, official version, as he entered the room, Bonney failed to recognize Garrett due to the poor lighting. Drawing his revolver and backing away slowly out of the room, Bonney asked, KNS, like, who's this? Recognizing Bonney's voice, Garrett drew his revolver and fired twice. The first bullet struck Bonney in the chest just above the heart, killing him instantly. Oof. A few hours after the shooting, a local justice of the peace assembled a coroner's jury of 6 people. The jury members interviewed Maxwell and Garrett, then Bonney's body and the location of the shooting were examined. The jury certified that the body was Billy's, and according to the local newspaper, the jury foreman said, quote, "It was the kid's body that we examined." Bonney was given a wake by candlelight, and he was buried the next day, and his grave was detonated with a wooden marker. But
Detonated?
Ooh. Denoted.
I was like, they blew him up.
I was like, holy shit.
And then he rose from the ground.
I'm back, motherfuckers.
And then he was the mother of dragons.
Then Billy the Kid became Khaleesi, and now the segment's over.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Bye. Oh, man. What's the word? Denoted.
Yep.
Yes.
He comes out, he's got like long blonde hair.
Braids everywhere.
Okay, all right.
George R. R.
Everyone's
Martin
like, when did
really
he get so
loved
hot?
God.
All right. Bonnie was given a wake by candlelight. He was buried the next day.
No, I like it. Keep the original.
Well, I'm going to say the
She's
line
just
in case I fucking...
Reminding you where we left off an hour ago.
It takes a lot to edit, Eliza. Bonnie was given a wake by candlelight. He was buried the next day, and his grave was denoted with a wooden marker. But Stack, because now we're back to Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Back to Stack.
Back to Stack, tells us that, quote, history may be wrong. Enter Dr. William A. Tunstall, a research historian who emphatically tells us that everything we know is wrong. Up to 90% of what we've heard and have been taught as students is wrong.
If we're only learning about Billy the Kid, which
Not here in America.
no one is.
Yeah, exactly. Both accurate. If we were only learning about Billy the Kid, 90%. And of course, we never lie. We're America. All right, here we go. This is what the segment's about. In 1950, a 91-year-old man from Hyco, Texas, named Brushy Bill Roberts came out and said he was Billy the Kid. Tunstall says there is no doubt in his mind that Brushy Bill and Billy the Kid are the same person. Oh, but wait. Historian Donald Lavache disagrees. He says, no way. That's it. Hyco, Texas, of course, believes that Brushy Bill was Billy the Kid, but there were 1,360 people living in Hyco, Texas as of 2006, so it's probably the only interesting thing that's actually ever happened there. Cut to Stack in a black suit walking through a dusty old Wild West set.
Poor choice.
Yes, his formal attire getting rapidly more and more dirty. And he says that although a lot of people don't agree with Tunstall, he cannot be dismissed out of hand. Can he? He says that Tunstall has evidence. And now we jump back to 1948. In 1948, a Florida attorney named William Morrison uncovered evidence, I say that very loosely, that Billy the Kid did not die in 1881. A guy told him that he fought with Billy in the Lincoln City Wars, and he's still alive.
Oh.
Yep. So a guy tells this lawyer that he fought with Billy in the Lincoln County Wars.
Way before he died.
Way before he died, and that he was still alive. And that's the evidence. The end. That's it. Barbara Kutchler, Morrison's daughter, shows up in a really, really red suit jacket, so you know she's in charge.
She's got that power color.
Oh my God. And then like a spiral pattern. She's like, and my dad knows Billy the Kid.
My dad told me a guy did something.
And she's like, some guy told my dad that Billy the Kid was still alive. So
she's been waiting for this moment her whole life.
Yes, she has.
yeah,
She picked out the suit for this moment.
she bought the suit.
Yes.
Yep. She went to Mrs. Lady Pants Shop.
I love that store.
So William gets in his car and apparently just starts talking to all the other, quote, old timers about Billy and finds out that everyone thinks that Billy is Brushy Bill. In 1949, Morrison went to Hyco, Texas and met with Brushy. The reenactment scene is too much. As soon as they shake hands, he dead eyes him.
Yes.
And he's like, I am Billy the Kid.
Yes. He's waited that long
Yes.
to tell someone.
I'm sorry. I feel like if someone was walking around for 60 years telling people he was Billy the Kid, wouldn't more than just 1,300 people know? Like, it never left Hyco. No one had a cousin in Stevensville or Hamilton or anyone else in any radius.
Or also, wouldn't you just get tired of saying it and you just wouldn't say it anymore?
Yeah, no, you would never get tired of saying it because you're not Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
You've got to say it all of the time. It's like giving yourself
Such
a
a
nickname.
weird
It's such a
thing.
forced, weird
Yeah.
thing. I guess now the cat's out of the bag. I don't think he's Billy the Kid.
No one ever doubted. No one thought you would.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I still have some hope in me that someone out there isn't lying about something. Brushy Bill says he was drawn out by Wallace and he wants the full pardon he was promised in 1878. Oh man! And then he's like, "I can prove
Such a
it."
long time.
I know. Well, he says that he's dying and he wants his pardon so that he can go to heaven without any sins. But then he takes off his shirt and he's like, I can prove it. I still got the scars. I didn't get these scars sitting in no rocking chair. And then he gets naked above the waist, like legit.
Yes.
Except for that. Neckerchief.
Yes, he's got his neckerchief and his nips, and that's it.
Neckerchief and nips.
And I'm sure Morrison was like, I am so here for this. Yes.
Show me that scar
So
on
then
your
he
shoulder.
starts like
honey.
talking about scars, and he's like, I got this one in Santa Fe, and I regret some of my decisions, whatever, yada, yada, yada. So Tunstall says there were 17 points of identification of similarity between the two men, and he says, quote, both men had small hands and large wrists, protruding teeth,
Oh, God.
protruding ears, same head size, same boot size, and then the weight. And then Dr. Lavesh says, there's no record anywhere with anything having
anything.
to do with a boot size of Billy the Kid, a waist size of Billy the Kid, or a hat size of Billy the Kid.
Or bloated wrists.
Nothing. Like this guy, the editing is so funny. This guy's like, it is 100. And the other guy's like, this guy's a fucking
I
asshole.
love when they do that.
It cracks me up whenever they do that.
Yes, the contrasting interviews are the best.
Yeah. But then Dr. Lavesh, I was on his side, but then he starts arguing that a reporter said that Billy had, quote, clear blue eyes, but Brushy
Yes.
Bill had speckled eyes.
Oh my gosh, the detail. I can't even see if your
What the
eyes are speckled.
Yes,
or
They
not.
like-
are.
Shut up.
But I was like agreeing with him until he did the same thing that Tunstall did. He used garbage information. Clear blue eyes isn't a fact, it's an opinion, and journalists have been known to lean on hyperbole when talking about villains or heroes.
Exactly.
Yes.
This is fucking silly. Brushy Bill took Morrison on a tour of Lincoln County and apparently only gave information that someone in the Lincoln County War would know. Morrison became convinced that he was Billy the Kid. Morrison then contacted 5 people who had known Billy the Kid in the Lincoln County War. Really?
What?
Really? Where's the evidence that they knew him? Wouldn't any old man in that area say, oh, sure,
Yeah.
I knew Billy in the Lincoln
I
County
knew him.
War? It's way more fun than saying I didn't and then having no one listen to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even Brushy Bill could have just fought in the Lincoln County War.
Yes.
So,
Hold on. I'm sorry, real quick. In 3rd grade, I told everyone at show and tell that Jesse James was my uncle.
Oh, no.
And I brought my dad's arrowheads and showed them and said they were his.
Jesse James's?
Arrowhead? Did he shoot arrows? No.
Nope.
That is the most amazing
Sorry,
thing
but
I've ever
everybody
heard.
does it. Everybody's like, I knew that guy.
But to your point, everybody lies. Everybody wants to be related to someone famous, right? Of course.
Karlin has connections to this story.
Yeah.
On a deep level.
Yeah. Yes.
On a deep 3rd grade level.
I think that's truly adorable. That's something I totally would have done. So we're told that all of the witnesses signed affidavits saying that Brushy Bill Roberts was Billy the Kid. Okay, so 5 very elderly men who are possibly lying about knowing Billy the Kid agreed that this other guy who is possibly lying about being Billy the Kid is Billy the Kid.
Oh my God.
This is like Inception for elderly white men. Here's what Brushy said happened on that fateful night. He was hanging out with his girlfriend, Salsa, and his friend Billy Barlow at Jesus Silva's house, and that is a fact. Silva told Billy if he went to get meat, he would cook it. Billy sensed a trap, so he didn't go out. Then Garrett's posse, who was across the yard, fired into the house and shot Barlow. So Billy ran through the gate and started shooting. He said he was shot in the lower jaw, in the shoulder, and then another struck him across the top of his head. When he woke up, a Mexican woman was putting beef tallow on his head to stop the bleeding. That's like one of the grossest sentences
Yes.
I've ever read.
Ew.
Yes.
He told her to reload his .44. Then Celsa said they killed Barlow and that they were passing Barlow's body off as Billy's and to leave town. The next day, Barlow was buried as Billy the Kid. Tunstall says that Garrett didn't show off the body, as was the regular occurrence when a big fugitive was killed. This is so fucking silly. Then they edit back to Lavesh, and he's like, actually, Garrett gathered 21 people who knew Billy. They all assembled, passed by the casket, and said, yup, that's William Bonnet, Billy the Kid in the casket.
Okay.
Like, the editing is hysterical. The one guy's like, no way. And the other guy's like, yeah, it's for real, though. Like, what the hell? Oh, man. I just want them to fight to the death. In 1950, Brushy Bill and Morrison went to see Governor Mayberry for a pardon. In the reenactment, everyone was attacking Brushy Bill. He was 91 years old. And the press and the relatives of Pat Garrett, and they were all like asking him a million questions. And then he sat next to the governor, and the governor was like, this guy isn't Billy the Kid. So, like, that was super fucked up. First of all, you didn't have to invite him to the governor's mansion to do that.
Yeah, he was
You didn't
really
have to
intense
call a
about it.
press conference only to bring up a 91-year-old man and completely humiliate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Brushy died a short time after the meeting with the governor on a street in Hyco, Texas. Brushy Bill's
street?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Brushy Bill's friends and neighbors erected a plaque for him to let everyone know that he was Billy the Kid.
Oh, yeah, that was nice.
And that the government screwed him over.
Good edit.
I'm going to let Mr. Stack read the plaque to our listeners, but I'll read it to you guys.
He spent the last days of his life trying to prove to the world his true identity. We believe his story and pray to God for the forgiveness he solemnly asked for.
Okay, do you want to hear the update? Okay, fun facts. The original and only authentic tintype of Billy the Kid sold for $2.3 million in 2011.
Whoa. We will post a pic of it.
I mean, he does not look cute, but apparently he was cute.
A bit dead.
Yeah. Billy the Kid's exact date of birth and place is still not known, and historians and biographers today are still trying to solve the mystery. Can you imagine, like, that's your job? No. I mean, I know our job is a little weird.
I just looked around the table like,
But, like, to just
this non-job we have.
Like, this one person, their one date of birth
I know.
a billion years ago.
We've come upon so many people like that now, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like, we can't find, like, shit for people from, like, 1975.
Yeah.
Like, what? Birth dates of November 20th and September 17th have popped up, but there's no proof or even a hint of these dates being accurate. As for where Billy the Kid was born, New York, Indiana, Missouri are all potential birthplaces, but there is no, without a doubt, proof to support any of them. At the time of his death, it was consistently written that he was born in New York City. So it's very possible that it's true because the people who were writing about him knew about him. And due to the testimonies by his friends and acquaintances, it's very possible that he was born anywhere between 1860 and 1862. Long story short, we know nothing. A Lincoln resident, Lily Casey, also said that the kid was barely 16 when he was jailed in Lincoln in November of 1877. That would have made him under 21 years old at the time of his death. And Garrett, Garrett may have deliberately made the kid 21 years old to make him an adult man when he shot him, instead of giving the harsh reality of gunning down a kid, possibly still in his teens. In the end, it made no difference of age. Garrett was still viewed with suspicion. As a child in Silver City, Billy the Kid loved to play pirates with his friends. He actually fancied the idea he was a descendant to Anne Bonney, the infamous woman pirate.
Oh.
And in his third grade...
he chose that name?
So he gave himself the name William Bonney. That wasn't his name.
That's what I'm saying. And
But
I
as
almost asked you when you first said it why he chose that, because that's a weird choice.
But why would he think he was related to her if his last name wasn't even Bonney at the time? Why would he, as a child, think he was related to the pirate Anne Bonney if his last name was McCarty?
That's what I'm saying. Ask Karlin, because she truly believed it, and it had no basis in reality.
Billy the Kid spoke fluent Spanish. In his short life, Billy the Kid was reputed to have killed 21 men, one for each year of his life. However, many historians calculate the figure closer to 9, 4 on his own and 5 with the help of others. Over 100 years later, in 2010, New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson considered honoring the 1879 promise of pardoning Billy the Kid.
He was like, I'm Billy the Kid.
Wait. Richardson backed off of the idea, though, citing historical ambiguity surrounding Wallace's pardon. That's your government, everybody.
Wow.
5 days after Bonnie's killing, Garrett traveled to Santa Fe, New Mexico to collect the $500 reward offered by Governor Lew Wallace for his capture, dead or alive. William G. Rich, the acting New Mexico governor, refused to pay the reward. Over the next few weeks, the residents of Las Vegas, Mesilla, and Santa Fe, White Oaks, and other New Mexico cities raised over $7,000 in bounty reward money for Garrett. What? That's the equivalent of $175,360.80 today.
They raised that just to give him because he killed him?
Mm-hmm. Because people had begun to claim Garrett unfairly ambushed Bonney, Garrett felt the need to tell his side of the story and called upon his friend journalist Marshall Upson to ghostwrite a book for him. The full title of Pat Garrett's biography on Billy the Kid is, quote, The Authentic Life of Billy the Kid, the noted desperado of the Southwest, whose deeds of daring and blood have made his name a terror in New Mexico, Arizona, and northern New Mexico, by Pat F. Garrett, Sheriff of Lincoln County, New Mexico, by whom he was fatally hunted down and captured by killing him.
Oh
Wow.
It was first published in April of 1882. I mean,
Front and back of the book. You
talk
don't have
about
room.
like giving it away. What's there to read?
Yeah, right. It's like you don't need to open
I
it.
don't need to open that.
It's like when you watch a movie trailer and they show you the whole movie, you're like, I'm fucking good. I can link to a page with excerpts, but this is about the actual shooting. This is Garrett's story of the actual shooting. All of this occurred in a moment. Quickly as possible, I drew my revolver and fired, threw my body aside and fired again. That's like totally a diehard move.
Yeah.
The second shot was useless. The kid fell dead. He never spoke. A struggle or two, a little strangling sound as he gasped for breath, and the kid was with his many victims. So in 2004, researchers sought to exhume the remains of Catherine Antrim, Billy the Kid's mom, whose DNA could be tested and compared with the body buried in William Bonney's grave. As of 2012, her body had not been exhumed because everyone was like, who cares?
Yeah, we don't need to spend money on this.
Yeah.
How about in the backlog?
Thank you. That's like it. That's our like tagline. Like, fuck this and the backlog.
Yeah.
So John Miller, an Arizona man, also claimed to be that he was Billy the Kid. It was unsupported by his entire family.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
But someone still had them pull DNA from his teeth and bones.
Oh my God.
And they were examined without permission from the state. So I guess some researcher privately paid for it. DNA samples from those remains were sent to a laboratory in Dallas, tested, compared to Miller's DNA with blood samples obtained from the floorboards in the old Lincoln County courthouse and a bench where Bonney's body allegedly was placed after he was shot.
What?
Wow.
Can that be viable?
Wow.
No. According to a July 2015 article in the Washington Post, the lab results were, quote, useless.
Oh my God.
What is happening?
This is painful.
Yes, for me as well. We're almost done.
No, I mean,
I know.
people did this.
So in April 2012, 133 pages of documents were provided. They offered no conclusive evidence confirming or disproving the generally accepted story of Garrett's killing of Bonney, but confirmed the record's existence and that they could have been produced earlier. So there was a reporter that was like, I need to see those records. I need to see everything that happened when he shot him. And everyone said no for a long time. And then they finally gave him to her and there was nothing there. Is Brushy Billy the Kid? Who cares?
Oh my God. What? Have we gone back in time 40,000 minutes?
This is the whole thing. This is the update.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Brushy may have truly believed that he was Billy the Kid. He was 91. He was clearly full of scars. Who knows what was happening in his brain? I don't fault him. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
I don't think
ifs?
that he was Billy. But it is hotly debated online, which is why I'm still talking about this.
Okay.
There are like pro and anti
Oh, I believe.
for Brushy Billy or whatever his name is. Like, it's
Never
so
would have
crazy.
known people care so much
Like
about this.
historians who specialize in Billy the Kid, because that's a thing that exists,
Yep.
fight then further into the rabbit hole of whether or not this guy was him or not. So I don't think he was. And that's really all that matters. Even if Billy was Brushy, he claimed to be shot 3 times in the lower jaw, the shoulder, and the top of the head. Historically, we weren't great at wound care. We had just started sterilizing instruments in 1886. Johnson & Johnson didn't have sterilized gauze until 1890. So we're supposed to believe that a man missing his lower jaw with a bullet hole in his shoulder and a wound on the top of his head,
Yeah, girl.
out in the
It's
middle of nowhere
surviving.
in New Mexico, Arizona fucking territories, would not only survive his wounds, but also not potentially get infected, also live to be 91, also, are you serious? Like,
Yes,
to me,
stop.
that's full
Yep,
stop.
yep.
But in case you're still not convinced, as half of the internet isn't, because yay internet, look at the photos. They don't look anything alike. That's Billy the Kid, right?
At 19.
Come on.
And then look, here's Brushy Bill at 17, all like super hot and whatever.
Deadeye. Billy the Kid.
So Billy the
No.
so apparently this is a really bad picture, because if you have to stand for a picture for 6 hours, you're not gonna look cute. If that's how Billy the Kid looked at age 17 and
He's like a
then
zombie.
age 19, that shit escalated quickly. That is the literal like old-timey
Yeah.
faces of meth.
Yeah.
So
No. Nope.
so in conclusion, Webster's Dictionary defines Billy the Kid. No, I'm just kidding. It's over. We're done. Woo! Thank you.
Yikes.
Alison out.
Oh my God.
Girl, I am so
I can't believe the
thankful I
world.
didn't have that segment.
I can't believe the world just cares enough about this. Wow.
That was
You
great.
did it. You did.
Girl, I don't know how you did that.
Especially with us interrupting you so many
Yes.
times.
For serious, though.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so this is a wanted segment about Charles. They called him Mule, but his name reads M-U-L-E, Mule. So I guess I'll call him Mule. Like I said in the intro, a bit of a trigger warning. This is maybe one of the darker segments, and it involves crimes against children. So
It's awful.
it's really awful. So Charles Mule was a police officer in Slidell, Louisiana, and he enjoyed working undercover and spent several years on the force in that role. He was so adept with his disguises that he arrested the same felon 3 different times without being recognized. They talk about this like it's just the coolest thing of all time. And they have this reenactment in UM, and he just acts like he is the coolest shit. It's gross because he looks so much like him. The actor looks so much like the real guy that you can just see the attitude that he probably did have. Like, look at this side by side. How did they find someone that looks so close to him? We'll post it, but those eyes, they are the same eyes.
Yeah.
That is weird.
So in 1981, he was transferred to sexual molestation detail and became a police sergeant. He handled cases of statutory rape and was often in charge of counseling the victims. No. He tried to talk with them and get information about their attacks. It's just so disgusting when you realize what's coming. So that same year, Mule was assigned to the case of a 12-year-old girl who was upset about the sexual advances of an older boy, which I feel like had to be very serious for in 1981, the parents to be like, okay, we're going to take you to the police to talk about this.
Yeah.
Like they were taking it that seriously. What was that older boy doing? It's awful.
Yeah, either that or the parents could possibly be forward-thinking.
Hopefully. That's
people.
true. And then other girls had also complained that the boy was sexually harassing them. So Mule met with the young girl on multiple occasions. In the reenactment, the girl's family brings her to the police department to speak with him, and he brings her into his office and tells them, the parents, that they can wait outside. At first, her family had no reason to be suspicious of him. Quote, I had no reason not to trust him. I never regarded him as anything but a policeman.
Because that's what he was.
Yeah, Sergeant Mule, the policeman, says the girl's mother. And their names are all protected, so there are no real names for the victims.
Okay.
So his coworkers also had no suspicions. Detective Kathy Porter, who we love, worked with him on most of the cases and thought that he was a good policeman. Mule began calling the girl's family and asking them to bring her for more interviews. Her mother became suspicious when he left the police station with her daughter and took her to another location shortly after they had dropped her off.
What the fuck?
The girl's parents noted that she began acting strangely after her visits with him. This part's really sad. Her father said, quote, I knew something was bothering my daughter because she would say, Daddy, don't look at me.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was later discovered that Mule was taking her to a local Howard Johnson's motel room that he had reserved for undercover work. So this is all like basically on the up and up. Like he's doing this as a police officer. After 4 months, she told her parents that she was being sexually abused by him. In order to gather more evidence, the authorities asked the victim and her family if she would go for one more meeting with Mule.
Jesus fucking Christ, she's 12. Daddy, don't look at me. That's like the saddest thing I've ever heard.
It's so sad. And then she has to go again to trap him. She goes and meets with him, and this time the room is bugged and used as a trap and has a hidden video camera. And they capture just enough evidence for prosecution. And I hate this, but they say in UN, before the girl could be, quote, compromised, Mule was arrested. Okay, she's already been compromised 1,000 times, and you are re-traumatizing her.
Yeah. Also, don't say compromised. Say sexually assaulted. And then they use her as bait.
Yes, it's awful. But then I also thought about what else,
what else could they do?
Not what else could they do, but could they have maybe taken 5 minutes to think about maybe some other options for what they could do?
Yeah.
So he is arrested on the night of March 1st, 1985, and charged with child molestation. At first, Mule's co-workers are shocked that he was arrested and charged with such an appalling crime. Detective Porter had the difficult task of having to investigate his case. So this is the woman who's worked with him the whole time.
Yeah.
And now she's having to investigate him because she's on the sex crimes unit.
That's so hard for a police officer.
That's crazy.
And she had to interview his victim. Also, I wouldn't want to go talk to a male police officer as a 12-year-old. I wouldn't want to do that
especially not alone.
No.
I think now that if you have to speak to a male police officer, there's a social worker that
There has
a female social worker
Has to be.
So, after learning the truth about the case, Detective Kathy Porter was furious that Mule could have done such a thing to the victim. So, through her investigation, she learned that the molestation of the 12-year-old girl was not an isolated incident. Of course not.
Nope. It never is.
Thank goodness she's a woman. This poor girl had to come in, and she came in so bravely to tell authorities about the abuse happening to her from this older boy. And the place she turns to, the police, for help, and that her parents trust, and she is supposed to, like, get help from them. She ends up being abused by that whole framework.
We're not talking because we're crying. Like, that's why. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. And so, like, thankfully, they had a woman who's his partner, because otherwise she would have had to turn to another man.
And thankfully, like, it was a woman who believed in another woman, because there are plenty of women out there who don't.
Yes. Yes. But then, so, like, even though Detective Porter is a woman, like, she still has to come back to this police station and recount the horrible abuse that's happened to her the last 4 months when she just came to talk about the original, and then it caused more harm in her life. It's so horrible.
Oh, my God.
So on September 27th, 1985, Mule was charged with 25 counts related to the rape and molestation of 6 young girls.
Jesus Christ.
So they only really talk about this one case, but there were many others, and it was ongoing and being investigated after his initial arrest. Of course, he denied all of the charges and was released on $150,000 bail. I could never find who paid it, but who the hell paid that? And then 8 months later, on May 11th, 1986, the day of his trial, Mule was reported missing. And of course, this is why it's on UM. So 2 days after he went missing, his vehicle was found near the Mancheo Bridge. It was abandoned and parked crooked, so like not parked straight, making it look like it's sort of haphazard.
Like he just couldn't handle it, so he had to park his car crooked so he could jump.
Yes. And then 2 days after that, an anonymous phone call was made to the sheriff's department. The caller said that a suicide note written by Mule had been left in a restroom 5 miles from where his pickup had been found. The letter read, in part, quote, "I was not guilty of any of these charges. They had persecuted me for no reason.
They literally caught you doing it.
Yeah.
Please forgive me for what I have done." So an extensive search of the river where he maybe jumped and nearby bodies of water failed, of course, to recover Mule's corpse. They dragged the river, and they showed this. It's a reenactment, but I did not realize when you drag a river, it's a boat that's dragging these like ginormous hooks, and then they just hope something hangs on them.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's so gruesome. But like a piece of clothing or whatever, and then they can know where to look, I guess, more closely. But I guess I just never realized what that actually meant.
Yeah.
But they never found anything, of course. So Detective Porter and other investigators did not believe that he had committed suicide or died by suicide.
No, because he's a fucking animal. Like, he'll do anything to stay alive.
Yes. They suspected, of course, that he had staged his death and made the phone call to say, hey, you guys haven't found this note yet. Can you come find it? And, of course, he wanted to avoid criminal charges. So soon after the note was found, a fisherman believed he saw Mule emerge from a nearby swamp. Several days later, a hiker in the backcountry passed by a man wearing hospital clothing. UM says this is a favorite outfit of Mule's. I'm very confused by this.
Scrubs?
Like scrubs.
Yeah, they must mean scrubs.
But how could that be
He's
his
in the middle
favorite
of the
outfit?
forest dressed as the doctor. He's like taking like
Trees,
yeah,
heartbeat.
Yeah.
Okay, weirdly. So I think the man thought it was Mule. So he sees Mule, or what he thinks is Mule. Whoever it is, that man opens fire on this hiker without making any remarks. So he shoots at him.
The man in the scrubs?
Yes. And then the hiker, reported this and was questioned, and he identified Mule from a booklet of mugshots as the one who he had seen and the one who shot at him. So, if it was Mule, he saw the guy and just pointed his gun at him and tried to kill him.
That's how you lay low.
2 years after Mule's disappearance, an anonymous tip led authorities to a trailer near Slidell. The tipster claimed that Mule was hiding out there. However, he was not found, and they have this in the reenactment. A bunch of guys are going in with guns, but he's not in the trailer. And so one of their beliefs is that, this is awful, but one of Mule's police buddies tipped him off that they were going to be looking in the trailer for him.
That to me is not surprising.
So the police were not Kathy, his original partner, but other police were maybe helping him hide.
Meanwhile, the entire time he's out there, he's doing this. He is sexually assaulting children.
Even if he's not, he did it, and he should not be free in the
people
forest.
Like that don't stop.
Right.
6 girl, they don't stop.
Oh, it's gross. Yeah, I mean, even if the police wanted to believe their friend and didn't want to believe that he was guilty, even if the slight possibility that he was, it's so dangerous. He's shooting at people if that's him, and he also scarred many girls for life. It's terrible. So that's where the segment ends, basically. They say he's a fugitive who's extremely dangerous, and since he is so good at going undercover, he could easily be skilled with disguises, and they're just kind of look out for him. So, update. We can add another one to the list.
Yay. Oh, thank God. Oh, my God.
Yes.
I was going to, weep.
Well, you might still weep. So he was captured because of UM. On the night the case was rerun on July 12th, 1989, viewers told the FBI that Mule was living in Ocala, Florida, under the assumed name Joseph John Transina. Mule watched the broadcast and left the area immediately afterwards. But he was only gone for 3 weeks, and when he came back, he was arrested on August 3rd, 1989. One of these articles said he was the 25th fugitive arrested after being profiled on the show, but I think since they remixed everything for Amazon Prime, we're not quite to 25. But Mule pleaded guilty to child molestation, assault with a deadly weapon, and failure to appear in court. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison, but was released after serving just 7. That's good, just 7.
They're just children.
So Charles Mule, or as his family and former coworkers called him, Charlie.
No.
He's still alive. And as I said, he only served 7 years. He's 70 now. He lives in Louisiana. And I snooped around on Facebook, and it took me a while, and we won't post anything like any of that because it affects other people. But I'll just show Alison and Karlin a picture of him and his wife. Hashtag blessed. Literally, there's a picture of the two of them that she posted on her Facebook with a big thing that says blessed underneath.
Oh my God.
He has stepchildren for sure of his wife's, and then I think maybe 2 biological children. It's really hard to tell by the last names. Interestingly, I found a Charles Mule, but his criminal record is not on there. Just smaller things like jumping bail, which he did, and not wearing a seatbelt. But the biggest thing that he was in jail for is not there.
Nope.
So I was wondering, I wonder if his family could possibly not know.
Is that possible?
They are posting his wife, and I don't know how much of this we have to cut out.
No, we can just
It
talk
was
about
hard.
it.
I mean, it was.
Do you know where he's located? Is he way...
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Is he a registered sex offender? Because he fucking should be. That's someone on the police force that's pulling that information.
I wonder if his family could possibly not know. Because he has stepkids, so it's this wife... He hasn't been married to her forever. I don't know how long they've been married, but it's not that long. I mean, it's not 40 years or whatever. It just seems like it could be possible that they don't know. There are so many people that comment on the wife's pictures of oh, it looks like you and Charlie are having such a good time.
So wait, I'm sorry. Where was he originally?
In Louisiana.
He was always in Louisiana.
So
Slidell, but then he escaped to Florida.
Relocate, then how is it possible they don't know?
But I know. Well, I
People
don't know,
believe
man.
what they want to believe. We see that every
Or
episode.
they do know and they think he's like a changed man now or whatever. He's found
Right, or
God
they
or
believe
whatever.
him that he
This
can
is all
actually do
speculation.
Well,
I
it
don't
is
know.
hashtag blessed. So,
Literally blessed on the bottom of this picture.
so
And that's for sure him. At first I was like, because he doesn't have his own Facebook. So I thought, maybe it's not. But when I do side by side, it's him. It's his same eyes.
It's him.
He's an older man.
And he's got stepkids and probably step grandkids.
And he's in Louisiana.
And he's definitely not.
He only served 7 years for raping children.
My God.
Children
And
who were already abused.
Who were, yes,
Who were
victims of
coming
trauma.
to the police
Yes.
for help.
who are scarred for life and probably can never, ever trust anyone in their life.
Yeah. Monster. I wish I could post this picture for listeners to see. Okay, so a couple of things just on sitcoms online, then I'm done. So Robin W. says, the fact that
That's
other...
Robin Warder.
I think yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So he said the fact that other officers were apparently tipping Mule off while he was on the run seemed to indicate there were those who still felt he was innocent and that the girl was making the story up.
6 girls.
Sadly, Mule was such a well-respected figure that some cops probably wouldn't have taken the girl's story seriously or would have covered up the whole thing. But the detective in the UM segment was a class act who never wavered from doing the right thing.
Hell
That's
yeah.
Kathy, and that's right.
Yep.
Meg the Egg, 86.
Yeah, girl.
Meg.
She said, I always had so many questions about this one. Dude hid out right outside town in the swamp. I seem to remember that there was a theory that Mule might have been tipped off by some members of the Slide LPD that they were planning to close in on the trailer he was staying in. If that's true, I wonder if any of them had any further more active roles in helping him hide out. I always liked the detective who was interviewed for that segment. You could tell she cared deeply about the victim and the integrity of her organization and profession, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And then she said, lots of similarities to the Reggie De Palma case.
Yes.
Which is also another sparingly discussed segment. He hid out and was caught. We'll get to that in a couple seasons.
Yeah.
But I looked it up a little bit.
That one's crazy.
Oh my God. Justin, 5256. So he makes a good point about kind of like what I touched on before, but just about the original reason why this one girl came to the police. He said, sort of random, but I always wondered what happened with the situation the family went to the police station to resolve in the first place.
Yeah.
The mother of Mule's victim indicated that they went to the police station to report a neighborhood boy who had been harassing her daughter. I just wonder what this guy was doing that was worthy of police attention. To be sure, it must have been serious. Still, I wonder what was up with that. It wasn't really addressed again after Mule came into the picture, which is understandable. But yeah, like, same thing. There's also this other monster. So, like, not only is Mule a total dick and predator, he is also letting another predator get away. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not doing his job on all the levels. And my last thing is just, this reminds me so much of The Keepers. If you haven't watched it, it's very difficult to watch, but it's just the case of men in power getting girls and women alone and especially and targeting ones that are already victims of sexual abuse and then causing more sexual abuse.
Yep.
So it's terrible. I'm sorry. Of course, we're ending on this one, but this is one of the first, I think, covered that really dealt with shit like this.
Yep.
The next episode, one of the segments I cover, someone says the phrase sex crime. And I think it's the first time that ever used it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
like
they're starting to.
Because that's what most of this is.
Yeah, you have to do it.
Like, if you're going to do this, then you're working in this. And you have to say what it is.
Yeah.
You can't say compromised. You can't say that.
Yep. Yeah, so listeners, I'm sorry, since he's still around, I can't tell you anything. Please don't go looking, but just know that there are people hidden out there who everything looks good on Facebook.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed, baby.
Nice work.
You okay? It's really depressing.
It's so depressing.
So it is Sharesy Feelsy time. And we're going to act like that last segment didn't just happen.
We've been talking about it for the last 20 minutes, still in horror.
Yeah, we edited it all out. It's all gone. So I started listening to the podcast The Shrink Next Door.
Oh, yes.
From
same.
Wondery and
So
Bloomberg.
good.
Have you started listening to that? It is ridiculous.
Ugh,
I
love it. I love it. I mean,
every time Wondery does a podcast, you're like, I hate it. I love it.
yes, truly.
That's what they're trying to
Their
do.
editing is so good.
Oh my God.
Yes.
The story is so bananas.
It's so crazy.
Oh my God. It's great. So
Man, it's really sad, too.
is it, or is it a lesson in like stupidity? I'm not.
I mean, it's a bit of a culty situation in a two-man
yes.
way.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's sad because it affects other people in this guy's family.
Oh my God. The
Yeah.
whole thing. Like I was rewinding over and over and over again because I was like, I must have misheard that.
But you didn't.
No, yeah.
Okay.
So if you haven't
wait.
listened to The Shrink Next Door it's by Wondery and Bloomberg. It's great and you should listen to it. And you can message us about it because I can't figure out if this guy's the worst or what's happening.
Or the best.
Or the best, yeah.
No,
Like,
not the best. Mine is Chernobyl on HBO. You guys.
Yeah, I want to.
It is the absolute best television I have seen in a while. This year, definitely.
Is it a documentary?
No, it's a docudrama, so it's very much based in reality.
Okay.
It's beautiful. There's an accompanying podcast, which I highly recommend, hosted by Peter Sagal and Craig Mazin, who's the writer and executive producer and everything of the show. And then, of course, Peter Sagal does Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR. And he also hosted Nerdette Recaps Game of Thrones with the Nerdette ladies. But so it's just called the Chernobyl podcast. But they basically recap every episode after you watch. And so the Craig Mazin gives a bunch of information. He'll say yeah, this was totally factual. No, this wasn't truly factual, but this character represents this thing in history because it's based in the Soviet Union and we didn't know. People are like, oh yeah, I know about Chernobyl. You don't know about it. Even if you think you know about it, it's based in the Soviet Union. You don't know anything because they wouldn't even tell their own people. It is so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's so sad, but it is... Everyone should watch it. It is so good, and everyone should listen to the podcast. I feel so much. I love this new thing that's happening where people are making podcasts about shows because that's all I want to do when I watch a show is think deeply about it. And Craig Mazin, the producer and writer, is so wonderful to listen to and very pleasant and just so smart, and you can tell cares so much about this story. So please watch and then listen. It's so good. I highly recommend. This is going to be old news because this comes out in a few weeks, but I love it.
Yeah,
That's
people who make podcasts about shows are fucking genius.
No, because I just never want it to end once I watch, and it doesn't have to.
That's one of the things on my bucket list is to go to Chernobyl and wear the suit and photograph Chernobyl.
Yeah, and he talks all about that. Craig Mazin, he went in the making of it just to get the experience, and you have to wear the dosimeter or whatever it's called, and they might have to decontaminate you if you get too much, and I cannot tell you how good it is.
It's super interesting too because when we started streaming and downloading and all of this stuff, we lost the DVD commentary aspect of the things that we watch.
Right.
So that's sort of what this is becoming now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so next episode 21.
Oh.
Guys, when this next episode comes out, I'll be in England. Goodbye.
Oh, right.
So who's got this first unexplained death of Lisa Marie Kimmel? Oh, that's a saddie. Don't worry, because I have a not saddie.
Oh, no.
Mysterious Legends, The Lost Dutchman Mine, which Robert Stack truly fucked me over because it was a part 1 and 2, and now it's just 2 parts in 1 episode, and I don't care, and I'm not that excited about it, but I promise I'll make it good.
So be there or be square.
And also, if you skip, I don't care, bitches.
She
wanna
never
skip
cares
too.
if you skip.
I love when people are
Oh my God, no.
I just skip her. I'm like, skip me.
See you later.
Do what you want.
And I have another rabbit hole situation.
Oh, no.
So it's a missing persons, but Thomas Hotard has been murdered, and Audrey Mote is the missing person.
Oh, yeah, this one's crazy.
Yeah.
God, she's gorged, too.
Oh, my God, dream.
So, as we mentioned, go to patreon.com/Resolved Mysteries Podcast, and you can support us there. You'll get 2 extra episodes a month if you subscribe at the $5 a month level or higher. And we also have other fun things for you, so check out all of our levels. And then also you can go to resolvedmysteries.com/support to see other ways to support the show. Of course, we have resolvedmysteriespod.threadless.com if you want to support some Resolved Mysteries podcast merch. We've got a really cute Nancy Drew design. Then send us your stories for listener short stack episodes. We have to have those if we want to make them.
Yeah, I gotta say,
A little threatening there at the end.
well, I'm right with her. We want to make them.
It's been a little dry in the pot, I would
Yeah,
say.
guys.
That's true. We got one.
So unless you want a 30-second listener first out,
Yeah.
send us some shit.
Oh my gosh. Air high five.
Sisters.
Best friend.
So email us your favorite unsolved mystery story or cold case or any nostalgia you have surrounding watching the show. You can do that at resolvedmysteriespodcast.com or directly email us at resolvedmysteriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also send us something that is physical that we can touch in our hands.
We want to touch it.
Our P.O. Box is 14005, Portland, Oregon, 97293. And to see photos relevant to this episode and others we've covered, follow us on Instagram at _solvedmysteries. And we're excited because we just got to 1,000 followers.
Hell yeah.
And Twitter and Facebook at Resolve the Pod. And like we said, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, unless you're a Patreon subscriber, and then we'll see you in a week, honeys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
The last name is spelled Bowdre, Bowdre. Bowdre?
B-O-W-D.
Bowder?
Bowdre. Bowdre.
Bowdre? Okay. So, Pat Garrett.
You don't think it's Bowdre?
Definitely not.
Is the R sound?
D-R-E.
I think it's
That's how you
more likely to be
spell
Bowder.
Dre.
Think about like Brett Favre.
Oh, Favre.
Favreau.
Okay. I'll just say Bowder.
Think about Dr. Dre, though.
I knew you were going to fucking say that.
Let's think about him for a minute. And then let's keep doing this. So Governor Wallace posted a $500 bounty for Bonnie's capture, which is around $12,000 today. Pat Garrett continued his search for Bonney on December 23rd following another shootout where
It's hard.
Or Bow Wow.
Bow
Dre. Sure, Bow Dr. Dre.
Oh my God. How many times am I going to have to say this sentence before I kill myself?
It's not Bowder.
I'm going to go with Eliza because she's way more vocal about it.
Thank you.
Okay. Following another shootout. Listen, the squeaky wheel gets the fucking...
Yeah, it is.
The squeaky wheel gets the white wine and mango spritzer.
Oh. Yep. That sounds accurate.
I do have to pee, so wrap it up here.
Then we're going to pause because
We're going to make it longer.
Yeah. No, I'm like halfway
I
back.
know you
Take
are.
her bubble water away.
No,
Take
I'm
the
good.
white wine.
Okay.
It's gone.
It's gone. Oh, she took
Too
it
late.
away. Okay. Following another shootout where Bowdre was killed, Garrett and his posse captured Bonney along with Pickett, Rudabutt, and Wilson at Stinking Spring. I'm sure it was a
Rudabutt?
Stinking Springs.
How are we not talking about these names?
Rudabutt. So Rudabuh. What?
She thought it was Rudabutt.
Rudabutt. Rudabow?
What is it one more time?
Rudabauh.
Augh.
Aughh.
Rudabow.
Rudabow.
Rudaba.
That's what I said.
What is wrong with you?
All right, let me just get through this. We always get the names
Seriously,
wrong anyway.
I know.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, so.
Karlin's wrong, though.
Okay, fine.
I'm the rightest.
Okay. Oh my God.